Before we start, I want to say Happy New Year. Hopefully, you guys have spent it well with your friends or family. I am going to be continuing these reviews for a little while longer just before school starts. So, the first review of the year is going to be Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. When Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was first announced, I was a little worried because if you guys heard of a little game called Marvel's Avengers, Marvel's Avengers was a complete flop. It was a piece of shit. I hated that game. It was one of the worst games that I've ever played. If you want to hear me rant about that game, go check out Did You Get the Memo on Anchor? I'll leave that in the description. That's where I have that review. I'll probably transfer it to YouTube eventually, but I'm not gonna touch it ever again. It's just a piece of shit. I'll leave that in the description. So when I saw that Square Enix was given another chance to publish another Marvel game, I was very concerned because I thought they gave Crystal Dynamics another chance at a Marvel game, and when I saw it, I was angry because I really didn't want this to be another flop. But turns out we had a glimmer of hope because Eidos Montreal was going to develop this one. If you don't know who Eidos Montreal is, they're the one who developed the Deus Ex series, and that series was pretty good. So I had some hope that this one wouldn't have been so bad compared to Marvel's Avengers. In this game, you probably guessed it, we play as the Guardians of the Galaxy, but we only get to play through Star-Lord's perspective, but your other teammates help you out in battle. In this game, we see a early stage of the team. They're still not fully trusting each other. They're still not this close group of friends. Like, they're basically family as we know them in the comics. So we're seeing them transition from being complete strangers to a family throughout this whole game. And in this game, they have to work together to stop this crazy church that is using this so-called false promise in order to gather energy from everyone in the galaxy in order to release this entity that's supposed to grant everyone's wishes. And it is up to the Guardians to stop this church before this entity gets loose and ends up destroying the whole galaxy. We're gonna start off with the story first because this was my favorite part about the entire game. I loved the characters, I loved every single aspect of the characters, and I loved the interaction with the team. They actually feel like a team. He's like, see, Marvel's Avengers, this is how you do it. This is how you tell a story about superheroes and about a team. You hear that, Crystal Dynamics? This is how you do it. Not like this other bullshit that you did in Marvel's Avengers. This is how you do it. They actually felt like a team. I loved the banter between them. It really did feel like they were actually human beings. It felt very genuine. It was very funny seeing them interact on and off the battlefield as they're yelling at each other, telling each other to do better, or they're just making jokes at each other. I loved this whole aspect of it because it really did make the game feel alive. Another thing is, like, I like the straightforward story. It was very enjoyable. It was nothing super crazy, nothing like super like complex about it. It was just a straightforward story from start to finish, just like in the comic books. Really, it's like I love the crazy moments that happen with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because like if you know in the comics, they're not like traditional. They go absolutely crazy with the situations. It gets super ridiculous at times because they're not superhuman, most of them, maybe except for Drax and Gamora, but they're not like superhuman in some aspects. They're not as powerful as like Adam Warlock or the Living Tribunal, Odin, all those characters. These characters are closer to humans than compared to many other superheroes. So I love the crazy situations that they get into. When it just goes crazy, it goes all in, and I really did enjoy this part because it created a fun story, and it was just really fun to see everything play out. And even though it might have like these super crazy moments, it really did have heartfelt moments from time to time that you really show the development of the team. You develop their bond, and even like the darker aspects where it gives you like a message and it shows the transformation of each character moving away from their selfishness And I really did like this aspect because it really grounded the characters and it really made you sympathize for these people that aren't necessarily good by definition. One aspect of the story that I really did appreciate was your choices and how your choices affect the overall game. Because I know a lot of the times in games they give you choices, but no matter what you do, it just doesn't matter in the end. But in this game, it's kind of the same where it's going to play out in a specific way no matter what, but it does change how the game plays, because sometimes it can make things easier or it can make things harder if you want to. And I love this design because it really does show that the game really does consider your choices. Because I know, like as I mentioned before, sometimes your choices don't matter, but in this one they do. The interactions between your teammates change depending on what you say. Different outcomes occur if you want to make the game easier or harder, or you have to do all kinds of stuff that could have been solved in 1 second if you did the specific choice. There are different outcomes when it comes to the interactions between characters. I did some research, I replayed some levels, and there are different outcomes in order for you to make the experience change as you're going along through the story. Because like you do get a lot of dialogue options. There is a lot of dialogue between the characters. Depending on what you say, they change their views on you, and your dialogue changes as you're going into battle and stuff like that. So I really did appreciate this aspect. In this game, you really do feel like you're in space. You really do feel the grand scale that this game really just takes place in. It's like I love the design of the planets. I loved how the skyboxes looked. I love the environments. It looked very pretty. I love the different atmospheres. Like it just really did show that they really wanted to make you feel like you're in space, that you're traveling across the galaxy, looking in places that you might not even know exist, and I really did appreciate it. I know people thought that the designs of each Guardian wasn't great, but I think that they're actually good. I think that the designs of each character is perfect for their personality. Because I know Star-Lord looks kind of ridiculous with that haircut of his, but it really does fit his personality. He really does show that his fascination over like metal and rock and stuff from like the 80s, and it really does reflect that. And especially Gamora, she's more of the quiet one. You can see it on her face, and Drax is like the super funny one. And like I really did like the designs of each character. And if you didn't like the character designs, you can easily change their costumes if you find them around like the different levels. You can switch them at any time if you want. Each Guardian has their own special costume that you can find, and you can even find like whole sets of costumes, and you can change the entire team's look, but they all look the same, all the same theme and things like that. I really did appreciate this one because I know that a lot of people didn't like the designs, and giving you an option in order for them to change it, I thought a lot of them were cool, especially the Nova Corps one, the Five Horsemen of the Apocalypse one was really cool. The only thing is that for some reason Star-Lord has a lot of them, and I couldn't find most of them. So I don't know how I was supposed to go about it, because he has way more compared to the other Guardians. So I don't know how that was supposed to work. Now let's talk about combat. Before we start out like talking about like the actual combat itself, I wanted to touch on the customization before you start the game. So for the game, you have your typical easy, medium, hard difficulties, but there is actually a customizable setting if you want to make the game as hard as you want. Actually, I thought this was super cool because I've never really seen a game where you can customize your experience however you really want it, because you can customize on how fast you can heal, how fast your shield regens, how fast it is to pick up your enemies, how much damage you want to take, how long it's going to take to pick up your teammates. You really customize how you want the gameplay experience to really be. This adds an extra layer of replayability because you can actually go back and change settings on making like the whole experience different. And I thought this was a really cool idea, because I've never really seen a game do this kind of thing where you can customize how you want your whole experience to be. You can make it as easy as you want, and you can make it as hard as you want. So in the game, you only get to control Star-Lord as like your main character, but you have your other teammates in battle in order to help you out and coordinate attacks. So each character has their own set of little abilities for them to use in combat to help you out. So for instance, Rocket has some abilities that can shoot grenades in a specific area towards enemies. He has another one where he can pull everyone together in order for enemies to be locked in one position, and you can just attack all of them at once. He has his other one where he has this like ice thingy where it shoots up and it stuns enemies, and every character besides Star-Lord has these types of variations where it stuns enemies or attacks multiple people at once. And even though they are very similar, each character you can use them independently at whenever time you is available, really, because there is a cooldown for each of the specific moves. So you can use them whenever you need. You can use a specific guardian to do specific tasks for you during battle if you really feel overwhelmed. And Star-Lord has his own set of these kinds of moves where it can stun enemies, or he can fly around if he doesn't want to get hit too often. He has like a Gatling gun version for his blasters that shoot just like a barrage of energy. And each guardian has their own ultimate move that can really make a difference in battle. For Star-Lord, he becomes invincible for a certain amount of time. For Gamora, it does like the super move on one character in order to do a ton of damage. So does Drax. Groot has this ultimate where he can heal everybody, or he can pick up your teammate if they're down. And you have Rocket, where he has like this ultimate barrage that targets multiple enemies at once if you're in a tight pinch. And each guardian really does help you out in battle in terms of doing combo attacks for melee, and you can use each ability to your advantage if you really see fit. You can really go about it however you want. You cannot use them in battle. You can just do it by yourself if you really wanted to. I thought combat was really fun overall. I thought it was really nice to see that you can't really stay in one position at all times. You really do have to move around in order to help out your teammates, because sometimes your teammates get down or they get stuck in a trap and you have to help them out or pick them up and heal them. You just really have to pay attention to all of your teammates in order to become successful in battle. The only thing is that it does feel a little bit repetitive in terms of Star-Lord's moveset, because you can only point and shoot and super basic like punches and stuff like that. And I really wish that they could have added a little bit more for Star-Lord, since there is a lot of segments where you're fighting in long segments. There's like the boss fights and stuff like that. I really do think that maybe they should have put a little bit more attention to combat. But overall, I thought it was fine. It was a lot of fun since there's a lot of stuff going on. It really does fill in that void of less movesets. But overall, I think it was great. I think I had a lot of fun with it. There is a lot of stuff thrown at you, so you're constantly moving around. You're constantly thinking of which abilities you need to use for each guardian in order to help you out. And there are situations where the guardians don't really work together well, or you see that the coordination isn't there. So there is actually a huddle up feature where if you see that your guardians aren't working together properly, you can huddle them together and talk to them and give like a little speech to hype them up, to make them realize that they're a team and they're not a solo act. And then when you're in this super mode, it plays like a song that unfortunately I can't play because a lot of it is copyrighted music, because a lot of the game uses actual songs. But you become invincible with your teammates. You can constantly use your abilities. You can see that they're powered up. Their coordination is way better. And I really do like this feature because it really does show the dynamic of the team at the time. Because right now, they're not the family that they usually are in the comic. It's like they're basically strangers to one another. They don't trust each other. They're not friends yet. And you can really see that in combat when you see that sometimes the character goes off on their own and fights on their own. And I really do appreciate this because it does reflect their dynamic, and you slowly see their transformation and slowly see the transition of them being an actual team in the combat, which I really do appreciate. Another part of combat is that Star-Lord has his elemental guns just like he does in the comics. He has fire, ice, wind, and lightning. And for lightning, it's to chain attacks to enemies if they get too close to you. You have your ice shot that freezes enemies. You have your wind one where if the enemy's too far away from you, you can pull them towards you. You can even have like the fire one where you can just blast enemies in a single shot, and you can switch between these modes whenever you want in battle. And I thought this was really cool because it added an extra layer of things that you can actually use in your arsenal, because since this really is limited. And another thing I like is that you can use your environment to help you out. There's certain parts where you tell Rocket to throw a grenade at a certain spot that blows it up. You could tell Jax to throw objects at people that are on the battlefield. You could tell Groot to shoot spikes up if there's like a vent or something. You can even tell Gomar to cut stuff down for you if there's an enemy on top of you. I really do like this coordination of the team. You can use your environment to your advantage, and I really do like how they're yelling at each other throughout the whole battle. You could see that they're trying to actually work together. You see their dynamic, and I really thought that this was well done. Maybe they should have put a little bit more into the actual combat itself in terms of movesets, but other than that, I thought it was fine overall. And there's the other aspect of gameplay that there's the flying sections where you fly the Milano, and I think that they maybe should have made the controls a little bit better for this, because it did feel a little clunky at times when I first started playing these sections. I thought that maybe they should have made it a little bit more seamless to turn around and like shoot and stuff. Like the flying was a bit rough around the edges with the Milano. Maybe they should have put a little bit more effort into it, but once you get the controls down, I think that it was a lot of fun flying the thing around, because I expected to fly the Milano at least once, and there are like at least 3 or 4 sections, and I thought that it was fine. Maybe they should put a little bit more to the controls, but other than that, it was fine. And the soundtrack to me was probably another aspect I really liked about this game. I love like the 80s music. It's like stuff my parents used to listen to, and I like listen to these songs from time to time. I thought it was good. They even have like their own band, like Star-Lord, where Star-Lord got his name from. I thought the songs there were really nice. I can't use probably any of the music. I don't know what I'm gonna put for the review at the time of recording this, because a lot of it is copyrighted, so I will figure something else, and whatever I put, I'm sorry. I really wish I could put music from the actual game. I'll see. One thing that really did bother me though was, I don't know if this was a problem in the downloadable version of the game, because I bought the CD version and there were some glitches here and there. Some prompts wouldn't go away, so I can't see part of the screen. Sometimes enemies wouldn't act correctly. Sometimes the sound would just be super quiet for some reason. It was really weird. I don't know if this was a part of the downloadable version. I hope not, because this kind of stuff really just pissed me off. But it didn't ruin the experience for me. It was only an inconvenience here and there. The game crashed one time, but I was at the end of the game, so it really didn't bother me as much. But just be aware, if you're going to buy the CD version of this game, I think there might be some glitches here and there. Now it's time for me to give the final verdict for Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a great game overall. I really had low expectations from the start. I really did think that this was going to be another flop by Square Enix, because after the first Marvel Avengers, I really thought that they had no potential to create a Marvel game. But Eidos Montreal proved me wrong, and I really do appreciate how they took the time to really make it feel like this is a team. You really feel the connection between all of the characters, and I really do appreciate all of that. So my final verdict for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is an 8 out of 10. I probably would have gave it a 9, but combat really was lacking in some aspects, and that glitching, for me automatically, if a game starts glitching, I automatically take a point away, because I'm tired of seeing games not finish at launch. And this game has been out for a couple of months now, so to me it's kind of inexcusable at that point for that long. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you want to check me out on Twitch, check me out at Rurik Manica. I'll leave that in the description. I'm currently playing Hollow Knight, and that's going to be the next game I'm going to review. Go check out the Gaming Spidey. I want to help him out get followers, so go check him out if you want to. Also check out Faulty Wagon. He is my sponsor and my financial advisor, so please go support him on his YouTube channel. I will also leave that in the description. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. Happy New Year. Hopefully this is gonna be a start of a great year for me, or for everyone else in terms of gaming. So yeah, Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.